What's up, everybody? And today we are reacting to an SCP video. It's been a while. I'm really excited. This one is exploring the SCP Foundation, SCP-5000. Why? And this is by the Exploring series. Now, it is about 45 minutes long, so I'm going to split it into two. I'm going to put one video out today, one video out tomorrow, okay? And you might be asking, Luke, today is supposed to be a gameplay. It's supposed to be Star Wars Galactic Republic Commando. I know, but I'm very busy this week because me and my wife have started a giant project that you guys are going to see hopefully very soon, that you won't even believe is happening. So wait out for that. It's going to be a whole new project for you guys to see. It's happening. Hopefully you will see it next week. Hopefully. But we'll see. But it's a giant project that I am extremely excited for. And you have no idea what it is. Like, you wouldn't even be able to guess, trust me. But it's going to be a really cool project involving me and my wife that I'm really excited for. So that's why it's not a gameplay video today. It's much easier to do a reaction, especially splitting this up into two parts and going from there. So for now, let's shut up. Let's pull this up. And let's finally react to some SCP. It's been so long. I miss it. Let's go. Exploring series. Make me happy. Make me happy, Exploring series. It's been a busy day. Make me happy.
SCP-5000.
Okay. The
Why?
suit.
The SCP Foundation is an organization cemented in its goal of using its considerable resources and capabilities to protect humanity from the anomalous.
True.
One of the questions we'll be looking at today, however, is what would happen if that same organization instead used those same resources and capabilities to destroy humanity.
Ooh.
The other question is, of course, the one presented in the title of SCP-5000, and that's why.
Well, first and foremost, how do we know that they're not trying to destroy the planet? Because it's run by this council that we know nothing about. So what are their agenda? We don't know their hidden agendas, I'm pretty sure. So how do we not, why do we know this? This might be true, right? We don't know that. How do we not know? That's my question.
What would or could corrupt an organization so completely that they would betray everything they once stood for? Strap yourselves in. It's going to be a wild ride.
I'm hyped. It's been a while since we reacted to SCP.
SCP-5000 itself is pretty benign.
Badass.
With a safe object class, kept in a standard storage unit. The object in question is a mechanical suit, currently broken, with its internal schematics identifying it as an absolute exclusion harness.
Wait, why is it broken? The video I watched a while back, the animated one, it wasn't broken, it was just, not touched in a while and someone got into it. In fact, I can't really remember, it's been so long. But it never mentioned it being broken, so that's new information to me.
Designed by none other than the SCP Foundation. Based on what they can deduce, the suit, when functioning, would provide the wearer with a number of protective benefits, but currently it's only capable of basic file storage.
Interesting.
It's the files contained in the suit's storage that we're really interested in. The suit first appeared in a flash of light, probably not unlike a Terminator's entrance, within the containment cell of SCP-579. 579 is a rather divisive SCP, since its entire description has been expunged from record, and the Foundation has pretty much given up on doing anything with it because it's incredibly dangerous.
Wait, so if you go to the wiki, it's completely gone? Which one's that again?
And the Foundation has pretty much given up on doing anything with it because it's incredibly dangerous.
Which one? Wait, go back.
Divisive SCP, since its entire description has been expunged. 5 in the containment cell of SCP-579.
SCP-579? Let me go on the wiki real quick. SCP wiki 579. So it's been completely wiped, 579? No. There is information still here on what it is. There is a data expunge. Expunge? Interesting. Well, what is 579? Maybe it'll go into it.
579 is a rather divisive SCP, since its entire description has been expunged from record, and the Foundation has pretty much given up on doing anything with it because it's incredibly dangerous.
Yep, there it is. Description. Let me pull this over and zoom in for you guys. Here, description. Expunged. What does that mean? Interesting. Interesting.
Whatever it is. Needless to say, it's worrisome that a random mechanical suit created apparently by the Foundation appeared in a place they'd prefer to leave well enough alone.
Right.
But there's more. The suit, upon arrival, contained the corpse of a man who apparently died from hitting the ground after a long fall. The corpse is genetically identical to a Foundation employee named Pietro Wilson, who is currently working at an exclusionary site, a facility similar to SCP-3936 that is created using a technology making it immune to time or reality restructuring events.
Interesting.
In other words, if the world were to undergo some sort of drastic change that altered history or the reality of the planet, the personnel inside an exclusionary site wouldn't be affected.
This is so interesting. This is why when we watched the SCP-5000 video, I said straight up, I was like, this is one of my favorite SCPs because there's so much weirdness about it. So much sci-fi about it. And you know what I feel about sci-fi. So, yeah, this is really getting interesting.
Allowing them to make note of the changes. The actual living Pietro was, of course, interviewed and prodded, but he has no knowledge of the suit or the info in its files. Speaking of the files, let's finally get to it. The first journal entry is from, of course, Pietro, who says that the date is currently January 2nd, 2020, and he's just escaped from the exclusionary site.
Okay, so when was this supposed to have been made, though? For this to make sense? How is this supposed, like... Second. Let me pull up 5000. SCP-5000. Where are you, you turd? Where are you? Ah. Boom. SCP-5000. This was done in... Oh, so 20... It was done in... Oh, no. Last edited in 2020. So when was this one made? So is he saying by... It was the... It was dated to 2020? Is that supposed to be in the future? Because I don't know when this suit was first found. And it doesn't have a date on when it was first found. SCP-5000 first appeared in flashing light. Oh, yeah. So in 12/04/2020. Yeah, so... Okay.
Some individuals had entered the site and killed everyone else, thoroughly. But Pietro managed to make it to the suit, which kept him alive. The next entry goes into a bit more detail, as Pietro heads for a nearby Foundation safe house used by agents in this part of the country. He explains that things started about 6 or 7 hours ago, when a mobile task force entered the exclusionary site with proper clearance, gathered everyone in the canteen, and started shooting.
Interesting.
Pietro's just a technician for the site's power grid, so he's really not sure how the suit works, but its primary function makes it so that others can't recognize that they can perceive the wearer.
Weird.
In simpler terms, it functions sort of like an anti-memetic device, and it makes the wearer undetectable to others. As Pietro slipped out of the site, he noticed that the MTF weren't there to take anything, but just to kill everyone.
So this was the whole... Was this the story that we saw in the animation? In the animation, there was a dude that got the suit on, got through the people that were slaughtering everyone, and disappeared out of the area. I think this is the story it's talking about.
Putting an extra bullet in all the corpses.
Jeesh.
Pietro thinks at this point that it's possible the MTF was actually a group of infiltrators from the Chaos Insurgency, deep undercover, and as he makes his way to the safe house, he hears explosions in the distance, hoping that the Foundation sent in some teams to deal with them. Pietro is happy to find bottled water when he arrives at the safe house, as he apparently has been trudging through a desert, even though another function of the suit is to sustain the wearer's body.
So where did this fall come from then? I'm guessing he's going to get to that, but if the suit sustains a human, then why would he have like fall damage?
After resting, he boots up some of the computers at the safe house and is quite shocked at what he finds. The SCP Foundation had sent a message to every government, news organization, and anomalous agency in the world. That alone would be pretty startling, but it's the content of the message that is really chilling.
Okay.
The message reads, "The following is a message composed via consensus of the O5 Council. For those who are not currently aware of our existence, we represent the organization known as the SCP Foundation. Our previous mission centered around the containment and study of anomalous objects, entities, and other assorted phenomena. This mission was the focus of our organization for more than 100 years. Due to circumstances outside of our control, this directive has now changed. Our new mission will be the extermination of the human race.
Holy crap.
There will be no further communication."
I mean, if there was ever anyone that could do that, it's the SCP Foundation. But all they would have to, like, why would they have to go around killing people? All they would have to do is release everything. And I think that would cause enough chaos to pretty much destroy the planet, wouldn't it? Let's be honest. Especially some of these SCPs would truly make a disaster of the place. Or it would end up turning like a really, really bad version of Pokemon. There's all these weird monsters around and people trying to catch them.
That's right. The Foundation declared war on humanity, but interestingly, they had the decency to let us know first. The big
Why, though?
question, though, is why?
Why?
And all they said on the matter was because of circumstances outside of their control. Since the Foundation are pretty much the spitting image of control, it's rather puzzling. But we'll get to that. With the Foundation beginning their war, actively using the anomalies they've previously contained, Pietro manages to find snippets of what exactly they're doing along the way. I'm going to have to explain a lot of other SCPs throughout this, so bear with me if you're already familiar with them. SCP-096 is an entity that relentlessly pursues anyone that sees its face.
That really, like, I hate this picture. Really gets, like, goes through me to the core.
Until it slaughters them. The Foundation circulates a picture of its face on various social media platforms, causing it to tear across the globe until its photos were taken down. But it's likely still hunting. SCP-169 is a massive sea creature known as the Leviathan, believed to be thousands of kilometers in length. A large number of nuclear charges were detonated along its back, causing it to stir slightly in its sleep, which was enough to cause devastating earthquakes and tsunamis across the world.
Well, that's cool. Let me know if you want me to react to that one, the Leviathan. I'll certainly do that. That sounds cool AF.
SCP-662 is a small bell that summons a butler named Mr. Deeds, who can carry out most tasks asked of it, usually anomalously.
Creepy.
Over the course of the first 24 hours after the announcement, Mr. Deeds appeared near several major heads of states and assassinated them before disappearing.
Creepy. It's like a butler hitman.
SCP-610, an extremely infectious and deadly disease that rapidly distorts living tissue,
Gross.
was released in many major cities, including New York and Delhi. It spreads quickly, but is eventually halted through the combined efforts of the GOC and the Church of the Broken God.
So it makes sense that all the SCP Foundation would have to do is let everything go. Like, just let it all out, and then it would destroy the planet.
Who are not sharing the Foundation's new mission. SCP-682, the hard-to-destroy reptile, is simply released, which is bad enough.
Yep.
Next, we get some news footage of a reporter at an evacuation tent in Sweden, set up by the Global Occult Coalition. Patients are being treated by doctors in full protective gear, and the reporter repeats the GOC's orders to all residents that have not already evacuated, that they should seal themselves inside of their homes as quickly as possible.
I mean, homes are not going to stop
to a
them.
nearby GOC
The homes are not going to stop them from certain SCPs, let's be honest.
soldier, telling them that a patient just died, and they should get the eraser ready. The reporter runs out of the tent into a field containing a number of similar tents. In the tent she just left, A loud buzzing sound can be heard, and several flashing lights can be seen.
The eraser.
Thick smoke pours out of a gap at the top of the tent. The reporter recovers herself and continues, telling any residents still in a compromised area to keep a careful watch over those around them.
That's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
And if any of them begin exuding a noticeable minty smell, they are to be quarantined immediately.
Minty smell.
This is all very likely a reference to SCP-447, a small green sphere that exudes a greenish slime. The slime is edible, with a minty taste, and has various enhancing properties, but it's incredibly, horrifically dangerous if it ever comes into contact with a dead body. What exactly happens is expunged from the record, but it's bad enough that the GOC is working diligently to completely erase dead bodies from existence before it happens.
That's scary.
Pietro muses that with all of the supplies in the safe house and the exclusion suit, he could survive for years here, but he's conflicted between sitting there without knowing what's going on in the world and not really wanting to know what's going on.
So my guess, this is my guess from what I've heard so far. You guys know that I'm usually decent at predicting because I read a lot of stories, so I kind of have a gist of how some of them are working. My guess is that Pedro in the 5000 suit goes back in time to the SCP that did some. So my guess is SCP whatever. Which one is it? The original one. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Any second now. 579. Right. SCP-579, the one that the suit was found in. My guess it was something to do with 579 that made the SCP turn evil, and the suit went back in time somehow and killed it before, or Pedro did in the suit before it all unfolded. That's my guess. My guess. We'll see.
He recounts a story from his youth when he was really into detective tales, and he set out to find what was knocking over his dad's potted plants. He set up a camera and found it was a stray cat, and his dad proceeded to kick it to death. He figures that everyone would have been better off if he had just minded his own business.
Yeesh.
In this situation, though, he'd rather do something than nothing, and with the exclusion suit, he can simply be a tourist at the end of the world.
Wow.
He leaves the safe house and heads towards Site 19, the nearest real Foundation facility, in search of answers.
Which is probably an absolute mess.
On the way, he manages to spy on a Foundation MTF in a clearing, lined up in a row. The commander of the team proceeds to pull out a knife and stab the first soldier in line in the shoulder to no effect. The commander continues down the line, stabbing each one in the shoulder with no reaction until
My guess is they're all zombies.
reaching the 8th soldier, who cries out in pain. The commander shouts that they've got a live one, and the rest of the soldiers open fire on the 8th. Afterwards, they move out.
There must be zombies or something. There must be some sort of zombie thing.
And Pietro grabs some supplies from the body before burying it, quite confused. Moving on, Pietro catches a radio transmission, although it sounds practically like gibberish.
Okay.
The message is 7, 5. Can you hear me? There is a hole shining in the holes between your eyelids. I have never been to Versailles before. I want to be loved. 9. I am standing behind you now. 5. I am 2 of us, standing behind you now.
What?
The goddess eats the city in the sea. 9. There's a hole in the floor with an answer waiting in it. 7. Look, you're hatching. You're hatching. The
What?
message simply continues to loop. And let's ignore most of the text for now and just look at the numbers. Continually looping numbers. 7, 5, and 9. Or perhaps 5, 7, 9.
579. I think this is what's going to happen. He's going to go back in time and destroy 579, stopping this whole thing from happening in the first place.
No, SCP-579 is relevant to the overall proceedings, but not sure why. When Pietro turns over the radio looping the message, the transmission stops. and he sees the radio is damaged beyond repair. The plot thickens. While walking through a forest, Pietro comments on how far Site-19 actually is from the safe house, since he can't risk using a vehicle without being spotted. With the exclusion suit on, nothing can notice him, but something could come barreling through and collide with him unintentionally.
Right.
He wonders why he's even going to Site-19, as rather than staying out of harm's way, he'll be jumping into the Viper's nest.
Seems to want to get involved, doesn't
He
he?
concludes that, more than anything, he wants answers.
I mean, I would
Finally,
too.
he arrives
If you were in this situation, you would also want answers, because what's the point in being around if no one else is around? You know?
at Site-19, which is surprisingly easy to get into with the exclusion suit and security in disrepair. Researchers are still working at the site, though, discussing how to achieve maximum human casualties, like it was what they've always been doing.
Creepy.
Pietro comments that looking at their eyes, it seemed like some sort of human spark was missing from them, and wonders if they're even alive.
So it's as if they've taken the soul out of it or something, and they're just walking, not zombies literally like the traditional sense, but some sort of like non-responding human. You know what I mean?
He logs into the Foundation database and pieces together a basic timeline of events before they released their declaration of war on January 2nd, 2020.
Huh.
On December 16th, the O5 Council mark a project known as Numa as being of special interest.
Numa.
Project Numa was some sort of mass amnesticization program focused on the collective human unconsciousness, also called the psychospace. The idea of the psychospace is that humanity shares certain structures in our unconscious minds, like instincts.
So we've gone from post-apocalyptic kind of Earth to sci-fi dude in a suit, or I guess that was always there, to now some sort of interdimensional psycho whatever it is. This is nuts. This is nuts, but I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Let's see where it goes.
Apparently, the Foundation managed some sort of breakthrough in mapping out this whole psychospace for humanity.
Right.
But Pietro can't see the specifics as they're redacted. The next day, the O5 Council puts something to a vote with a unanimous decision, and the Ethics Committee also completely agrees. Something tells me that doesn't happen too often, but Pietro can't even see what the vote was about.
That's weird.
On December 19th, a series of now redacted instructions were sent to all senior staff members and site directors across the Foundation. This is followed by a wave of both suicides and resignations, with Dr. Gears notably resigning from the organization.
Interesting.
December 22nd sees a number of files sent out to all remaining senior staff and directors.
So what happens to the O5 Council? What the hell are they doing this whole time? Just sat back, not bothered? Like, seriously? Got to be something to do with them. It's got to have affected them somehow, or they found out something that changes the whole paradigm of the SCP.
With instructions to disseminate the files among the rest of their personnel. The files are accompanied by a message reading, "Harden your hearts," and all suicides and resignations cease after the files are spread. On Christmas Day, all communications in and out of Foundation sites are blocked, and the majority of human and human-sympathetic anomalies are terminated. An assassination team is sent after Dr. Gears, but it's unclear if they were successful.
Okay.
On January 2nd, MTFs are sent to all exclusionary sites to execute all personnel. And then they declared war on humanity.
But did they execute them or turn them into them weird zombie things? Like soulless people?
Something clearly affected the O5 Council right after some sort of breakthrough in looking into humanity's unconscious minds.
Yep.
It's highly unlikely that what affected them was non-anomalous, and it was able to quickly spread through the Foundation.
Gotta be 579.
That part isn't too tricky to comprehend, but
You guys, look at this little dude. My boy. He's creepy, eh? He's so creepy, ain't it?
it gets a bit more confusing when pondering what exactly this infection wants, and why they would specifically go to kill the exclusionary site personnel instead of bringing them on their side.
Yeah.
Pietro, of course, is also quite confused, but finds more information about various anomalies the Foundation has unleashed. SCP-1370 is a robot containing an artificial intelligence that is invariably hostile to everyone it encounters,
What?
promising them doom and destruction, despite being utterly harmless.
Interesting.
1370 is put onto every television across the world, continually rambling about how he's going to soon take over the world. Pietro remarks that this one isn't too bad. What is pretty bad, though, is SCP-1048, the Builder Bear, who can create incredibly hostile and incredibly violent copies of itself out of any material it can find.
Interesting.
Helicopter footage shows hordes of bears rushing through the streets of Paris, with a massive red teddy bear in the distance.
What?
SCP-1290 are two electronic devices capable of near instantaneous teleportation between them. The problem is that objects undergoing teleportation retain their orientation and velocity relative to the Earth, meaning that objects arriving at the other end come out at around 930 meters per second.
Can we just appreciate how cool this artwork is? It's so cool. Like, I'm really, really enjoying just... It's telling the story over the top of the artwork, and I really appreciate that. I really appreciate it. It's kind of like Mr. Ballin, where he like pops up pictures every now and again when he's talking. I like that format. I'm a fan.
The devices aren't incredibly useful to the Foundation because of this, but were kept on opposite ends of the Earth, in Colombia and Singapore. During this debacle, the Foundation moved the devices to the Atlantic Ocean to use as a rudimentary projectile system.
Interesting.
They began launching objects at a secure GOC facility called Ganzir, designed to house humanity's survivors in the case of the end of the world.
Oh.
Pietro surmises that 1290 was just one of a large number of anomalies.
How do you get a ticket to be a survivor? It's like the film. Do you remember 2012? Wait, have you seen the new? Oh, what's it called? The new one with Gerard Butler in it, where they have to get to Greenland, and there's like only certain people are out tickets to be like to survive the end of the world. Really good films. Greenland. It was literally called Greenland. It was a good film. But who gets to survive? Who gets to choose? I guess it'd be all the rich people, wouldn't it? Let's be honest. All them rich people would be first tickets to the people who get to survive, and that sucks. That sucks.
The Foundation was using to try and break into Ganzir, and wonders why they wouldn't just use missiles. SCP-1440 is an old man that continually walks the Earth, and causes increasingly destructive events when nearby anything connected to humanity, unintentionally.
Creepy.
He's normally not contained by the Foundation, as they have no means of containing him, so they transport him to a number of different refugee camps to cause rapid devastation.
Oh, jeez.
It's most startling to note that 1440 seemed to have no effect on the Foundation personnel assigned to transport him.
Yeah, that's because they turned them into like zombie things, isn't it?
Suggesting that they are now decidedly inhuman.
Yep.
SCP-1678 is a full-scale reconstruction of the City of London, located a kilometer underneath London.
What? What? I did not know about that one. That is cool. I want to know about that one.
It seems to have been built for some sort of end-of-the-world scenario, and the Foundation has been keeping tabs on it.
That's cool.
After their declaration, the Foundation completely abandoned 1678, and eventually the British Occult Service directs citizens of London down underground.
That's so cool.
Since the Foundation purposefully made evacuation of the city impossible.
This would be an awesome movie. It would be so cool.
Once 1678 had reached its capacity with refugees from London, the Foundation detonated a nuclear weapon they had left behind in the underground city.
Holy crap.
Some files were deleted between this and the next entry, and Pietro says that it's been 3 months since his last entry. The files in that period have been deleted somehow, and even worse, Pietro himself has no memory of the last few months.
Of course he doesn't.
He finds himself halfway across the country from Site 19, scars on his body that he doesn't recognize, a bandage wrapped around his head, and he's carrying a briefcase. The exclusion suit itself is not damaged, so he's not sure how he got injured, but he remarks that he wouldn't be surprised if he had accidentally walked off a cliff. He's not exactly sure what's in the briefcase, but he knows for sure that it isn't round, and he needs to get it to SCP-579.
Yeah, so something's going on. He goes back in time. This is my theory, guys. He goes back in time and saves the world by giving whatever it is to 579 or killing 579 or something like that prevents this whole thing from starting. The origin of this thing starts with 579. Guarantee it. And we're going to end it there. We're going to do part 2 tomorrow. Let me know what you guys think. Do you reckon I'm right? Do you reckon I'm right? Don't tell me, actually. Don't tell me, obviously, because I want to find out tomorrow. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm really excited. I love this story format. The exploring series. I'm going to leave a link down below to this video. Make sure you go over there, like it, subscribe to them, and all that good stuff, because they put up a lot of work to this. And I love this format of telling a story and then having pictures over the top of it. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and I really enjoy it. I really, really enjoy it. Members, you're amazing. I love you. I couldn't do this without you. I honestly couldn't make videos like this every single day if it wasn't for these members right here. So thank you for supporting the channel as much as you do. I really, really appreciate it. Links down below to all my socials, including the 2 links to Discord. We've got the military link for all things military, getting fit for the military, joining the military. Go to that Discord. Second link is the Original Human Geek Discord for all things SCP, Warhammer, D&D, Star Wars, Halo, Metro, all that good stuff. Go and check out the second Discord channel. Also, a link down below to my podcast and my Twitch stream, where I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Unfortunately, I'm not streaming today at 12, but I will be streaming on Friday, okay, guys? Also, a link down below to my second channel, Original Human Geek, where we upload stuff like D&D and a bunch of other really cool stuff. And I'm doing the campaign for the next D&D campaign. It's going to be a ton of fun. I've made my own original story, and I'm really, really excited. Also, again, I've got a huge project that I'm working on right now that I'm hoping you guys get to see next week. And that's why I've not been streaming the early this week, and that's why I've not been able to put a gameplay video. So, yeah, I'm really excited for you guys to see that. Until next time, guys, I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.